This is the Knowledge Capital. From Dubai to the world, quick, powerful insights for entrepreneurs, tech builders, and bold thinkers. Learn how to scale smart, think sharper, and win faster. With real stories, real lessons, and no fluff. Let's turn knowledge into capital.
New episode of the Knowledge Capital, the podcast where knowledge becomes your greatest asset and ideas transform into action. In today's special episode, we are joined by James Augustin, co-founder of Mindprint and Particle Execution. From building one of the UAE largest entrepreneurial communities to launching fast execution AI consultancies, you have been at the forefront of helping founders and small teams unlock the power of artificial intelligence. With Mindprint, you are now taking things to the next level, creating an AI workforce that remembers, learns, and works like a teammate, transforming how business adopt and scale AI. Am I right?
Exactly.
Okay, great. So, James, thank you very much for coming today on the Knowledge Capital. And yes, let's go for it. Introduce a bit yourself, highlight a bit your journey, maybe what you did with communities, and how did you go to AI and doing Mindprint and what you do now.
My pleasure, and thank you so much for having me on here. I guess really my entrepreneurial journey started just over 5 years ago. It was the last year of university, 2020, when COVID happened. And I thought that it was such a massive scale event, like nothing we'd ever seen before. And so I actually ended up launching a COVID response charity. At first, it was all about making a tech product that would connect people who are lonely. So we created that. And then we pivoted to become the UK's largest student consultancy. So this was my first taste of entrepreneurship. And yeah, it was a charity, of course, but it really had momentum. I was speaking in the news. I was getting a team of like 50, 60 people to go and help these other charities. And so that was really where I got my first taste of entrepreneurship. And then I went to work in consulting. It really wasn't for me. And so I then started to work on another tech startup in the UK. And for various reasons, it didn't go too well. And then I was kind of in the UK. I was working in sales whilst working on the tech startup. And I just thought, I want to move somewhere where I can really be my full potential and really go after what are my goals in life, which are being very entrepreneurial and taking some businesses to some very big scale. And so the United Arab Emirates, I'd never been there before. I didn't know anyone there, but for some reason it just kind of called my name. And so I went there and I had a job initially. But after about a year, I'd started building YP Club at the time, which was the UAE's largest, still is the UAE's largest professional community for entrepreneurs and professionals in between 20 and 40. And at the same time, I was building Startly, my tech recruitment app. In 2024, I went full time on the businesses and they started to go decently well. But then actually, at the end of 2024, I ended up leaving both those businesses and focusing on Particle Execution, which is what I'm spending the majority of my time doing now, which, as you identified, AI consultancy and agency. We're helping businesses to design, build, deploy, and optimize AI systems that are customized for their businesses. And then with Mindprint, as you said, we're taking it to the next level. We're creating a product that essentially allows teams to have a full AI workforce that remembers how they think, act, and reason over time. So yeah, absolute pleasure to be here.
Thanks. Thank you very much for this intro. Before entering deeper in Mindprint and Particle Execution, we really want to give the full dimension of our invitees to our audience. So what's one defining moment that pushed you to become an entrepreneur? Because a lot of people are asking, like, I would love to cross that line, that imaginary line, like saying, like, I want to be an entrepreneur, but I want to quit my job. So what was the one defining moment that you decided to move to the other side, to the dark side?
Well, it's a difficult question for me to ask, right? Because I know a lot of people, it's kind of one, there's lots of decisions, right? But I think they really accumulate from a kind of mindset. And the mindset is always just, I've kind of always had this where a lot of people have this idea that you can't do things or you limit yourself with beliefs or just whatever the status quo is what kind of has to go on. But it's this kind of, I don't know, this mindset that I think I've always had of, well, if some people are out there, like, going to space, creating billion-dollar companies, doing whatever they want, like winning gold medals, why can't anyone? Do you know what I mean? And I think it's just that kind of mindset of like saying when something comes up that you have an idea about, just taking the first step to do it and then consistently doing things, right? So I mean, I used to drive to college and listen to the biographies of like Alan Sugar, Richard Branson, people like that, to understand what they had done. And I nearly didn't go to university because I saw that a lot of famous entrepreneurs and successful entrepreneurs didn't. But then I think what really happened was in COVID, as I mentioned, even though I wasn't generating money from it, it was just the idea of building this project that I co-founded from the start and seeing it progress into something that was meaningful and impactful. And I think that really, really, really cemented for me that this is what I wanted to spend the rest of my life doing. I had an awareness before then. As I say, I used to think about it quite a bit. I used to be quite entrepreneurial, but it was definitely, I mean, just having that idea and then doing the first step. And the first step for me was just, well, I just need to go and post out on Facebook and LinkedIn groups all around the globe and all around the globe, and basically say to people, hey, this COVID thing's really bad. Who wants to put a team together to help? The response was awesome. And so if you ask for like one defining moment, I mean, it could be that, but it's more so just this mindset of, okay, yeah, everyone has business ideas. Everyone and their mates will say, oh, this is a really cool idea. Like, imagine this is an idea. But it's just the act of actually doing the first step that I think is what really sets people apart from those who don't, because everything has to have a first step. It's all sequential, right?
Yeah, thank you. Yes, entrepreneurial journey is really feet first in the game and just moving on, and just great. Thank you for the insight. And how do you think like running that kind of community shaped the way you approach building startups now?
Mm-hmm.
Help you to build startup and to start to enter in various ventures, and especially Particle Execution and Mindprint?
Yeah, so that one was the COVID response company back 5 years ago. And if you ask me how did that help me, it just showed me that things are possible if you get stuff moving. Like if you just start doing things can happen. I remember there was a point where my dad, for example, said when nothing much had happened, again 5 years ago, you might need to lower your expectations of what you can achieve with this, because he would, he didn't have that entrepreneurial mindset. He didn't really understand it. And then 3 weeks later, when I was speaking on the news about it, he was like telling all his friends to look and things like that. And so I think that definitely allowed me to understand, okay, yes, I didn't generate money at that point 5 years ago. It was a charity, but really you can do things. You just need to consistently do them and believe in yourself. Now, when it comes to the YP Club, which is I think the community that you're referencing, I was scaling in the UAE over the last 2 years. I mean, this opened my eyes so much, because just by nature of it, we were getting in quite ambitious, quite successful people. And I do think there's that element of when you go to the UAE, and in particular, if you go to these kinds of events that I was running, or other entrepreneurial communities, or hang out with entrepreneurs or VCs or people who are successful in their careers, it just normalizes the skill set and the mindset needed to achieve good things, where I don't think really anywhere else in the world quite has that. But I think it's quite a good thing about the UAE. So running that was definitely an unlock, because just having access to these people who had like sold 8-figure businesses, constantly working on new projects, constantly trying to help each other and give each other feedback and push each other further. I mean, that was just an unlock in terms of mindset itself. And I really do believe so much of it just comes down to mindset, because as long as you're quite intelligent, or relatively intelligent, everything you do is just building a skill, right? It's just experience. And so the mindset thing has just been so big for me. I think I've always had it, but just going to the UAE and doing that and meeting those people was absolutely massive. But I do think that the YP Club, like there were so many learnings. Like it's a hard business, because it's what I'm doing now, for example, it's so much easier to define return on investment, right? We go into a business where like you've got 4 people who are currently doing manual outreach and then following up with people and then having to log that data in the CRM and then manually making proposals. Those 4 people are spending 10 hours a week each doing all of those things. That's 40 hours a week. We can replace that all with an AI automation system, or 90% of it. And it's easier to define that, right? Because it's very tangible. You can see it. As long as people believe that we can actually deliver on the promise, which of course we can, and they can see testimonials and things, we can do it. But why YP Club was so interesting was because it was a lot to do with human psychology, and it wasn't always exactly clear why people were taking the decisions they were with regards to how we built the app, how we built the events. And so I think what was really important about YP Club in particular was that it taught me so much about, I guess, resilience and just like building, working with Cameron and Ben, who were the partners in the business at the time. Like we were all just so driven and building it up. But also I think it really taught me the importance of like just testing and trying new things, because it was like, we definitely made a lot of mistakes when we were doing that. For example, we expanded into Abu Dhabi and Riyadh before we'd even really conquered Dubai, which in hindsight was now mental. And we did end up leaving Riyadh at the end of the year, still alive and kicking in Abu Dhabi. But what it did do was teach me the importance of just trying new things to get data, because ultimately it's all about getting as much data as you can to make an informed decision. And usually if you try things over a prolonged period and do them meaningfully, look at the data and make new decisions and iterate, you can end up with a very good decision or a very good path that you found.
Okay, oh, great. Great. Yes, we are seeing that resilience, you spoke about resilience, is very important, and using any kind of experience you can have as an asset for you. So as an entrepreneur, every experience you get, all the mistakes you do, everything is an asset, and it's becoming a capital. This is why this podcast is called the Knowledge Capital, because when you accumulate knowledge, when you accumulate experience, mistakes, and experience in general, you are gathering more confidence and more tools for your next step in your journey. Nothing is, as you said, you didn't monetize that moment during the COVID, but you learned so much that triggered the way you are now and the way where you are going after. This is very important, to value any kind of experience and to try to see the best and extract the best from any kind of situation.
Definitely. And it's really interesting you say that, because when I ended up leaving YP Club, because again, YP Club, I was a business partner and I was the COO, but I wasn't the original founder. But I took the decision in December to leave. And what was very interesting was that we just scaled to about 800 members. And we'd scaled to about 800 members. I'd got a lot of value from it. If I kept vesting my shares, I was on track to obviously have a decent amount of money for somebody in their late 20s. But what I really had was this belief, and I think I watch a lot of Alex Hormozy, and it's something that he says is, it's most likely that your first business won't be your last. And really, every business, you're just building up the skills. And after 2 years of building YP Club, implementing marketing strategies, hiring a team, managing the team, like really understanding people and branding and everything like that, I just thought, I definitely know that I now have this skill set that can take a business to about the same level and beyond in what I believe would be quite a quick amount of time. And so I just backed myself, because exactly like you said, every learning, everything you do, every business is just such a wealth of learning. And so I took the decision to leave without any money for the shares, without anything. But I just had this belief that if I start Particle Execution, because I now know how to take a business to tens of thousands, nearly $100,000 a month in revenue, I will just be able to do that again. And it was at first, when I told my partner, when I told my mum, when I told people, they were like, "Oh my God, you're leaving YP Club. That sounds so strange, or it's just an interesting decision." But I knew deep down that I wanted to do the Particle Execution, and because of that skill set that I'd built doing the YP Club, I knew that I was going to be able to build up very, very fast to a similar amount of revenue, which we've kind of managed to do in 7 months.
Okay, so yes, let's dig a bit into Particle Execution, your AI consultancy firm. So why you launched it, and what problem you saw in the market? What pushed you to create that?
Yeah, so I think it was a mixture of two things, right? So I was also, at the same time of doing YP Club, I was building the AI recruitment startup that I mentioned to you previously. And the AI recruitment startup, I was doing it at the same time of YP Club for 2 years, but this never really took off. I think it didn't really take off because the product wasn't remarkable. And as well as that, my attention was split between kind of 2 companies. But again, it was good learning and we did get the product out there. We actually still use it today. But what I think I realized was I was a very early adopter with AI. And I think the reason I did the AI recruitment startup was because I saw an easy opportunity for CVs to be matched with AI and people to get interviewed by AI and things like that. But then as I progressed, and as I say, I actually learned about, okay, taking a business to multiple tens of thousands of dollars in monthly recurring revenue. I started hanging out with all of these entrepreneurs and professionals. It became clear to me that a lot of them had businesses and they weren't even using AI, right? They weren't using AI at all. And I didn't realize this because I've definitely been a power user of AI and ChatGPT and Claude and all of the AIs since they were launched about 2.5 years ago now. No one, and I always assumed other people were, but I kind of realized they weren't. And so I had this network of entrepreneurs who I knew weren't using AI, and I just saw such a big opportunity in there to basically create a AI consultancy / agency that goes into businesses, really understands what their outcomes and what their pain points and gain points are, and then creates tailored solutions that are able to actually increase productivity by a huge amount or reduce costs. And I believed that we had that skill set because I've worked in consultancy. I understand business. The developers understood AI and automation. And so we started doing that. And it really kind of gained steam. And I think if you put it like this, it's simple to understand how big the market opportunity is, right? Like over the next 5 or so years, tens of millions of companies globally will be looking to integrate more AI into their business because the business case is just so strong. The first 50% are getting a competitive advantage for doing it, and the second 50% are going to need to do it just to remain competitive. And so the opportunity is so vast to be going into businesses and not just saying, here, use this tool, or here's this like automation software you could use, but it's about really detailed, like meticulously understanding what is going on within that current business. What do the systems and processes look like? What tools do people use? Where are decisions made? Who's accountable? Who should be informed? Who's responsible? And when you understand all of these things, you can then design a future state that is creating minimal change for people to adopt it and really just removing steps out of their workflow to free them up more time to spend on what they enjoy, what they're good at, and most importantly, what they're paid for, which altogether makes the business more productive without actually having to scale headcount. And so that's kind of the premise of what we've been doing with Particle Execution for this year.
Okay, do you have some real examples of AI automation that really simple things like that can make saving time and money? Just few ideas. So like that, maybe some companies that are listening to us will understand, because a lot of people are talking about AI, but they don't know there is a gap between talking about it and understanding the real use case of AI. So maybe you have 2-3 examples where what you do, what you can offer to any.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, as you say, the point of this podcast was to impart knowledge. And I think one of the things that I always say to people is there's a difference between AI automations and AI agents, right? AI automations are actually quite simple. You get an input, which is like a trigger, and then you get some action that's happening with AI, and then you get an output. So for example, say that you've got a lead form on your website, right? Usually the lead would put in their information. Somebody on your team would read that information. Maybe it's got a bit of optional text about why they're reaching out. That person would then reach out to them with an outreach email or a WhatsApp or something like that. You can very easily create an AI automation for that because it's got a clear step-by-step process. So every time a lead is put into the website, that information is then captured. The AI should then read that, make it into an email, and use Gmail to send it out. So that's an AI automation. An AI agent is a bit more complex because it involves knowledge bases. It involves breaking things down into subtasks. ensuring that each of those subtasks has the relevant context to do it, to get the good final outcome. And then it should be self-iterating and be able to evaluate its output. So it is definitely more complex. And that's where a lot of people at the forefront of tech right now are focusing a lot of their time on. But with AI automations, I think that's where most businesses can get the simplest low-hanging fruit. And really, there's 3 questions. What is taking me a lot of time? What am I doing frequently? And what has a clear step-by-step process from one time doing it to the next? Because when you understand those things, if it's got a clear step-by-step process with little variance, right, then you know that, okay, this has got a repeatable format that probably an automation could do. There's not too much variance. There's no like critical thinking, oh, what if this happens? What if this happens? It's repeatable, right? And then, you know, if you're doing it frequently and it's taking a lot of time, you really should be using AI and automation to do it because the technology is there right now. So some easy examples are, like I said, that lead form coming in off the website. Why, if your human employees are just spending time to look at that information and draft an outreach email, why not get AI and automation to do it? Because it's a simple, repeatable process. It's standardized and it could do it straight away rather than somebody waiting 30 minutes, an hour, whatever. I've got a really good one that I use right now after every sales call. My flow used to be transcripts was recorded. I take the transcript to ChatGPT. I create the proposal with ChatGPT. I then input images and various things and make all the fonts for the proposal in Google Docs. Now, again, it dawned on me that this is such a simple, standardized process that even with the help of ChatGPT, it's taking me 30 minutes to an hour at like 2 times a day if I have 2 sales calls a day, right? So that's what, 1 hour to 2 hours of my day. And again, I was like, that's quite a lot of time to be spending doing something that has a standardized process. So we created an automation that just, after every single sales call, it will check my fireflies.ai, and we've set it to know that it's a sales call because it just checks the title. It will check fireflies.ai, take the transcript, it automatically input it to ChatGPT. After putting it into ChatGPT, it takes it into a Google Doc. It formats it the exact way I like it with the spacing, the title size, the headings, and then it takes that and puts in the images that I usually do, delivers it to my inbox with a response email, something along the lines of absolute pleasure to speak. And so, yeah, that is again another example of automation that we've got running. But there's so much to do. Like you can do researching of leads, enriching of leads, personalized outreach to leads on email, on LinkedIn, on whatever platform it is, TikTok, Twitter. You can do automations to do with your CRM. So proposals, contracts, invoicing, every time a new client is signed, onboarding, because onboarding usually has quite a specific, quite a clear process within a business. But as soon as that contract's signed, an automation should be kicking that in. Again, content creation, we've been helping a lot of agencies to create content that's on brand, context rich and unique to each of their clients. The opportunity is just so vast with what you actually can use automation and AI for. It's just really identifying what those first few things are. But for anyone listening, again, this is another little nugget of information I'd say. If you've got a sales team, there's a stat from Salesforce 2 years ago that says sales teams on average only spend 30% of their time selling. The rest of that is research, follow-ups, proposals, contracts, right? And it's like your salespeople, usually they have quite a big salary and also they're absolutely integral for the success and the revenue of your business. And it's like, if you haven't put in automated or optimized or AI systems yet to help those people and alleviate all of the things which are time consuming and standardized, then your salespeople are massively underutilized. And if you could take your salespeople time from 30% of their day is spent selling in meetings, meeting people in person, to 60%, you could, in theory, double the output from your sales team.
Yeah.
And so I think the sales and the marketing is a massive unlock with regards to growing businesses through AI and automation, but actually enabling sales teams. So a few things.
No. That's very true because, for example, we developed a technology for accounting firms. We developed a technology called The Guardian. This is a technology The Guardian. And this is something that software full of AI and automation system that can help to bring automation on 90% of the task of accounting firm. I think for people who are listening and just figuring out in which kind of use case or industry or they can implement that, you just need to think about what can be predictable.
Mm.
What can be predictable, and everything that can be predictable and working in a proper frame, like accounting. We cannot do better than accounting. That is so predictable job. You just need to implement the good tool and the good technology developed just to focus on keeping your great employees, your great partners, and pushing them at the forefront of the business, meaning being on commercial. As you said, now when we enter in accounting firms to help them to scale, we just enter and just identify 70% can be replaced. It's not about replacing, it's about reshaping the way you are organizing your business. And as you said, salespeople were from all the capital age. Salespeople were the most paid people in the world, and I think they will still be more paid now. Because everything that is not sales or human skills can be replaced by AI and automation. So all the people, I'm speaking about SaaS services and everything that is on the third tier of businesses. So this is so important for people who are scared about AI. First, understanding. You don't have to be scared. You don't need to reject that because you cannot stop what is coming. The world is already shifting. It's already shifted, actually.
It has already shifted.
Yeah. And just focus on what will make you very valuable to any company. Great commercial skills, great communication skills, and human skills. Those are the three pillars of the next human that we will need in the business of tomorrow. The rest, everything that can be, it's hard to say, developers. You had great developers. Now you need great CTOs. CTOs that understand problems in real life and can put the agents at work in the back end. And this is just about scaling. Scaling is not developing the revenue and hiring more. It's developing the revenue while you keep your fixed costs low. This is the real scale. And this is why the opportunity that AI and automation is bringing. So yes, I totally agree that what you said is we are just scratched the surface of what can be done and how massive it will be adopted in the world in short time period.
Yeah, exactly. And like you say, it really is. I don't think people have really fathomed how much at the beginning of this we are, because there's just so many companies globally that are throwing so much time and money and attention into this. And like, really, it's only been a kind of big buzz around it for the last, as I say, 2.5 years. None of us really have any idea how impactful and how much this is going to change things. But I think we've got a good forecast over the next 2 years, roughly, right? And as we say, there's definitely that opportunity to be getting companies using more AI right now to get a competitive advantage. And I really liked what you said about the creativity thing, because I think that's exactly it. It's like humans should be doing what they're best at and what only they can do, because that's how you're going to get the highest leverage, just logically speaking, out of hiring a human, right?
This is very exciting times, but minds and people need to understand they have to be flexible enough to follow the flow and adapt to what is coming, because the power of what is coming in terms of automation, AI, we are seeing that in content generation, for example. Now it's really hard to dissociate real from fake. And we are just at the early beginning of that. So
we've actually been helping one of our clients. We just did a project to create 10,000 AI videos a day for him that were all differentiated. Now, we can do it, but the conclusion of the project, because it was just an initial project to kind of scope out price and feasibility, was it was going to be a bit too expensive at this point in time. But it's scary that you can, in theory, do it. There's a company called Hedi that creates AI avatars. I'm not sure if you've heard of them. And we spoke to their enterprise team, and they said they've got one company that's producing 50,000 videos a day. And I don't know, they're obviously going out into the ether, into LinkedIn, into TikTok, Instagram, wherever. And it's just quite mad to know that there are some companies, even right now, leveraging AI to create 50,000 videos a day that are then put out onto the internet. I'm sure you've seen the videos of VO3, Those ones are crazy because the HeyGen ones are like AI avatars that are talking, but the ones with VO3 are just insane because they're like longer videos that are immaculate in terms of the quality and how hyper realistic they look like. But there's, for anyone listening,
just a short, this is
Yeah.
a VO3 is the AI generation tool from Google, right?
Yes, it's the AI video generation tool from Google. Now there's a limit, which is that it typically only allows you to create 8-second videos, but through doing research, we realized there's this tool that Google has called Google Flow, which essentially allows you to use the VO3 technology and create videos that are longer than 8 seconds. But again, it's just quite expensive right now. But if anyone's interested in the AI video production, check out Google Flow, because a lot of people are talking about VO3, but Google Flow is like how you can get the most out of VO3 at this current point in time. So I definitely, any listeners say to check that out.
Okay, great. So to come back on, just want to clarify, what's the main difference between Mindprint and Particle Execution?
Yeah. So Particle Execution is a service business and Mindprint is a product. We are launching it as a software product. We've got the memory in the background where you can use AI agents as like AI employees that are able to pull on the memory to get high quality outputs and things like that. So yeah, simple delineation in my head, at least, that one's a service business, one's a product business. However, a lot of our service clients are also using Mindprint and we've integrated it with their automations.
Okay. So what's the main, because people, we are seeing as so early we are, it's a lot of people, when you talk about AI, they think it's only ChatGPT. So what's the main difference of what you can provide that ChatGPT cannot, for example, just to keep things simple?
Yeah, sure. So I guess basically ChatGPT is obviously very, very good. We use it all the time. But I think what we're trying to create here is, and on our mission really, is to create the absolute best, most optimal way to use AI in your current workflow, right? Because we've seen through creating AI automations for people and also how people use ChatGPT, it's very good at creating outputs, but it also has a little bit of friction with regards to how you are used to using, how you were used to working, right? So what we're trying to create with Mindprint is a way that, imagine it like Slack, where you're able to, and you are also able to collaborate with your team, right? And in Mindprint. So Mindprint looks a bit like Slack. You've got your different spaces, your different projects that you can come into, each with their own memory that you can create outputs with. And the next phase, we're going to be able to not just create outputs, but be able to interact with external tools like LinkedIn, Twitter, your CRM, things like that. So you've got these AI agents, which you're able to give skills to, that are able to use them to create outputs, but they're also able to, there's an orchestrator in there that's able to get the agents and the skills to kind of communicate together, just like a human team would if you set one of them a task to produce a high quality output. So for example, you could be like, hey, this is a transcript from a call that I had with a reporter or a podcast that I did. I need you to, you could speak to your marketing expert and you say, I need you to develop this into 20 plus assets that we can use for marketing for the next like month or something like that. Now, what it would be able to do is you would say that to Mindprint and it would know that, okay, this is a job for the marketing expert. So what the marketing expert is going to do is it's going to pull on the memory to say, okay, we actually connected. I know from memory that we usually use LinkedIn, SEO, some website blogs on SEO, as well as Instagram posts. And so what I'm going to do there is I'm going to access the memory, look at all of the last ones that we created, any feedback that James or somebody else in the team gave as to how he liked the outputs done. Because often when you speak to ChatGPT, you have to go and revise it multiple times. Mindprint stores all that information and uses it as relevant context, right? So it's able to go and create 20 different marketing outputs based on that one thing to a high quality, because it's not just doing it in isolation, it's doing it with the context of everything that's been created previously.
Yeah.
Additional to that, we've come up with this concept of skills. And so a skill is, in its most basic sense, have you created custom GPTs before?
Yeah.
Yeah, so exactly. It's just a custom GPT in a sense of you can put in examples for firstly, it's all to do with creating a particular output at this point in time. Again, in a month or two's down the line, it will be to doing an action as well, like post, not just creating a LinkedIn post, for example, as an output, but posting it on LinkedIn also. But right now, the skills are all orientated around creating a particular output to a high quality, right? So you put in some initial examples. When the AI is asked a task, the orchestrator agent will know, we'll just call it like the orchestration algorithm, not to confuse things, will know, okay, we need to speak to marketing, but we need to use the skill that has been created for making blog posts, the skill that has been used for LinkedIn, the skill that is used for Instagram. That's how you kind of get consistency there. And those skills you can kind of level up over time. And the idea is with when you create a skill, like we're trying to, as I said right at the beginning, we're trying to make the easiest way to interact with AI, just like you would with a human team. And if you've got AI employees, the question we had was, how do you actually evaluate the performance of a human employee? And really it's to do with what the value and the outcome is that they create, right? But equally, again, that's when you can interact with external tools. If you've got a junior SEO writer or a junior marketing person and they come back to you and they've created, imagine you gave that task to a human employee, create 20 marketing pieces. If they sent it back to you and you had loads of corrections, none of it looked good, you'd be thinking, this is really annoying. Okay, maybe the first time you'd give them all the corrections, second time, fifth time. After they've done it 10 times, you would expect them to be better at that task because they've developed new skills and listened to your feedback. And that's exactly the concept we have for our AI employees. You give them feedback when they produce an output. And then the more times it gets closer to a 10 out of 10, the more they've developed that skill and the more the AI expert, we're calling them the AI employees, have actually got better. So yeah, this is kind of how it's different to ChatGPT. To summarize, we've got an advanced memory system that's able to pull relevant context from previous conversations, not just in the same chat, not just at a surface level, but deeply across the platform and every interaction you've ever had. Number two, you interact with the AI employees that have AI skills just like you would a normal team, so it feels natural. And number three, you can actually interact with your normal team in the platform as well. And this is one thing when I've been posting that I just think is an interesting thing to point out. And when I've been talking to people, a lot of CEOs that I've been speaking with have said they're trying to get their team to adopt AI. Interestingly, there's typically like 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 people in the business who are like power users of using ChatGPT and Claude or whatever it is. But there's a lot of people who are massively lacking behind and not using it at all. And again, I think that's in part because ChatGPT is so siloed, right? You use it as an individual. Okay, yeah, you can share chat history with people, but if somebody is a power user, you can't actually see how they interact with it. And so within Mindprint, there's the ability to come on as an organization. And yes, you can have your own private area, but also similar to Slack, when you're communicating, you've got a thread of thinking, you can use that to create an AI output and you can see how people have got to that output, which in theory should help increase AI adoption across a team, which I know a lot of CEOs and executives are wanting.
Okay, great. So do you mean that your agents at Mindprints, for example, they are helping one business in January, they learn from mistakes so they can be better the next time, but do your agent keep this memory and use it to help another business in 6 months, for example? Or it's still separated agents with separated like mindset and and frame?
So when you log in, there's no like master algorithm that we're training, right? So we won't take a learning from one business and use that on another business. When you log in, all of your data is siloed within your workspace, right? So just like on Slack or on Microsoft Teams, your company's login has all of your data and another company can't access that. When you're logged into the platform, the algorithm we've created that is able to withdraw, retrieve, and utilize relevant context based on the advanced memory, that is only applicable to your login and your team space. So it can not help another business, but 100%, if you've got something that comes up or even remotely relevant a few months down the line, it will be able to use that past.
This is what I wanted to
Yeah,
say. Yeah.
exactly. The past thing that happened 3 days later, 3 months earlier, and also understand what feedback you gave when creating that output, the thoughts and processes that went into it to then create this next output. So it is ideally always learning, always getting better, just like a human teammate that is able to remember would. And the way we've done that, not to get too technical on it, but we've kind of got two types of databases. One's called a vector database that's able to store the data as coordinates in the database, so it makes it easy for AI to retrieve. The other type is a graph database. Now, a graph database is able to store the time-stamped relationships between data. So I use this example for my mum because it made a lot of sense to her. As a human, if she followed Delia Smith's, one of her favorite cooks recipes on roast beef, and then the roast beef was overdone, then she would know next time to maybe not follow it exactly, to do it 30 minutes less in the oven. And if Mindprint was able to store that information, it would store it and make the inference just like your brain does. Because ultimately, either subconsciously or consciously, in every decision a human ever makes, it is filled to the brim with context on every other decision or action or memory we have that goes into making that decision good. And that kind of, I mean, there's a term for it for starting to gauge a lot of traction now in Silicon Valley and across the world. This idea of context engineering is one of the most important things to get high quality outputs from AI. And so that's really what we're aiming to be quite good at on our platform, is every time there's a task for an AI expert, every time there's a subtask, every time something needs to get done, how can you retrieve and inject the optimal context to make sure that that's done correct within the Mindprint platform? And I think that's really where our advanced memory comes in.
Great. Perfect. Thanks for all those explanations. So speaking about Mindprint particularly, you are saying that you are building Mindprint in public.
Yeah.
So just enter a bit into that. What do you mean by that?
Well, I think there's, when I was at university and I was working on a business, again, not one that I've mentioned today, but I was just in a business competition. I didn't want to tell anyone my idea. And I think there's that classic thing that first-time entrepreneurs are like, no, we can't tell anyone my idea because it's so good that it will get taken. And in hindsight now, it just seems so stupid because no one's going to sit down and had that vision and spend hours and hours and hours just because they hear me say it once, right? I think there's a few things that applies for, but on the whole, it's just much better to build in public, especially because content is king. Like on LinkedIn, you'll see one of the posts I did got 6,000 comments on, and it's like content is essentially free marketing. Now, building in public is very important because I'm building in public from a personal page. And again, I do Instagram, I do TikTok, I do YouTube. I've only started 2 months ago, but LinkedIn I've been doing for consistently a year and a half. But even before that, when I had my charity and things, I was using it. And I've always it's been my main platform, and just crossed 23,000 followers. And it's just like, it's an absolute no-brainer not to be doing it because people are interested in a story. Why do you think that company accounts do so much worse than personal accounts on LinkedIn? It's because no one knows what it's like to be a company, but people know what it's like to be a human. So if you build in public, the idea is you're sharing your narrative, you're sharing the wins, the losses, and it gets people involved, and it gets people, like you might meet someone like you who's a VC, or you might meet a partner, or you might get the attention of a client. But altogether, content is just one of the most valuable investments long term that people can do it, like spend their time doing. So building in public is just an absolute no-brainer because it's building a narrative around your product, your life, and what you're doing, which ultimately the main goal is to get leads and to scale your business. So why wouldn't you be doing it?
No, and I think this is the right approach. We were speaking about shifting and the world shifting with AI and so on, but we didn't speak about the concept of decentralization and the peer-to-peer relationship that we will have all together by interacting and exchanging informations, data, money and everything peer-to-peer thanks to the blockchain and smart contracts automation. So I think we are in an era of the open source. And when we speak open source, we also have to be open ourselves and understanding that the value we give out to the people, when you speak about content, what we are doing right now here, creating content for the people to learn, to move forward, to understand better. It's very important to grow as human and to really add value to the world. Because at the end, we understand that, as you said, 20 years ago, when we had an ID, we thought that the ID was the asset, while an ID without execution is nothing.
Yeah.
So you understand that on the entrepreneur journey,
Mm-hmm.
but it's very important to understand, like, an ID. I know I meet 99% of the people I meet every day, they are full of ideas, but only 1% are executing.
Yeah.
So this, what you are sharing in public, is really good, because this is also helping the process of facing challenges, of
Mm-hmm.
creating things. How do you organize your day to make this thing happen? I think this is very the new era also for the really inspirational people, what we call influencer right now, that are just providing like really, really weird stuff, not really useful, so not really resonating, especially with entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can show as human that being an entrepreneur is just a business human oriented, and you
Mm-hmm.
just help people to automate their journey and to start to, so it's very interesting. This is why I wanted to talk about it, because you
Mm-hmm.
mentioned that, and I think this is a one really good point
Yeah.
to speak about. Speaking about UAE, so why choosing UAE as a hub? Like, what kind of opportunities and challenges you are seeing here by launching a global tech here?
Yeah. So I think firstly, the skill set and the mindset normalized to achieve great things, grow businesses is second to none here, which can't be undervalued as somebody who's looking to be quite successful, generate big businesses and do things with their life. If you surround yourself with people who make it easy and normalize to achieve what you want to achieve, that is like absolutely huge in your life, because you are a product of your environment. So that's the first thing to say about the UAE. But everywhere I've ever been and everyone I speak to who is kind of in this mindset has this really, really good idea about it from that perspective. Equally, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of capital flowing about. There's angel investors, VCs, as you know, and lots of people that are there to support the ecosystem. And again, in terms of a positive, I think like, maybe this is just the UK, but I think in the UK, people are a bit more cynical. And it kind of comes back to that first point, actually. But what I find here is every time you have an idea, rather than people being like, nah, it won't work, or laughing at you or scoffing, like it sounds ridiculous, people will be like, oh, that's so cool. Have you thought about this? Let me connect you to that person. Let's speak over here. And that kind of mindset and like can-do attitude is just, it is really, really important. And I think, as I said, definitely more than other people, I've always had that. But it was just brought to another level, I think, in the UAE when I bounced off other people with it. Now, in terms of, and again, I haven't got full exposure over this, but I do know that a lot of the, from what I've spoken to VCs at events who are from Europe or America, fewer of them invest here because they found not as many companies go global, because there's so much opportunity just within the GCC to make a very profitable big business, right? Now, again, I'm not in the VC space per se, so I don't know how accurate that is. That was about a year ago. But again, the flip side to that is you don't necessarily need an investor from the US or Europe. I'm not saying you can't get it. My understanding is it might be slightly harder, but because there's so much capital and VCs and investors from Abu Dhabi, Dubai, Riyadh,
Yeah.
Egypt, like all across.
What I understood from the UAE and the why it's so different is the 98% of the people who are currently doing business in the UAE are not from the UAE. So they are in the UAE on purpose.
Yeah.
This is totally different if you compare with the UK or South America or Europe in general. The main people who are doing business there are native from there. So the mindset is totally different, because all the people are coming in the UAE for something. And usually, of course, the lifestyle, the security and everything, but mainly it's like catching the business opportunities that are currently growing. So this is why people networking is faster, is better, is more business oriented, because people are here for something.
Yep.
And this is I really tried to explain a bit that kind of why UAE is so different. It's like because people are not there randomly. They
Yeah,
came on purpose.
yeah.
And
No,
this purpose is
100%.
driving a bit the mindset.
And we
Or the
saw that
mindset is driving the purpose.
100%. We saw that so much at YP Club because naturally a large segment of our ideal customer profile was people who had just moved to the UAE and they were moving there for a purpose. They were moving there to meet new connections. And in summary, they were moving there to meet like-minded people that could help them go further in their career and business journey. So 100%. That's I agree with that.
Yeah. So speaking about how you see the future, how do you see small businesses using AI in 5 years, for example? How do you see the perfect startup using everything that Mindprint is offering today, but starting from scratch with that? How do you see that on a daily basis, like in a simple way?
Yeah, well, I think we're entering the era of lean teams can do incredible things, right? Like I'm pretty sure Y Combinator in their full request was looking for companies that could become $10 billion companies with a team of 10 people. Rather, actually, I think they were looking for companies that can facilitate that. It's like a lot of productivity and things like that. And so what I think we're going to see is teams becoming way more impactful at a smaller scale with AI just naturally, because so much of the long, boring, laborious stuff that people used to have to do is now easily doable with AI and automation. And you can also get reporting more easy when you have these systems. Like when we build systems in place for companies, it becomes easier to see data. So making a simple dashboard to then make data-driven decisions is better. So companies are performing at higher scale with less people, with more data, with more understanding of what's going on. And I think that's a huge thing that we're going to see. Now, with Mindprint in particular, we are aiming for initial launch at solopreneurs and micro teams of less than 5. We have got some users that are more, especially some of our service clients have got bigger businesses like 50, 80 people who are going to be using it. But our initial go-to-market strategy is hinging on those two ideal customer profiles. Now, as I said, like I really do think that people who are starting from the beginning and who are maybe not that with how to be using AI should check it out, because as I said, we tried to make the most natural way to interact with AI, where you've got it very clear what's your space, what workflows have you got for certain things, just like how you would talk to a normal team, but it's an AI team on like Slack or Teams. Right. And so I definitely think it's one for people who are looking to utilize AI more to check out. But again, it comes back to that question, like more generally speaking, of if you're looking to automate and use AI right now, just ask yourself, sit down and map it out. And I did this in a workshop that I ran at 2469, the startup community. Just spend 10 minutes, map out, what am I doing frequently? What of that takes a lot of time, and what of that has got a clear step-by-step process or little variants? Because once you've identified those things, you just need to count up how many hours are you spending a week or a day doing those things. Maybe it's outreach, maybe it's onboarding new clients, maybe it's creating marketing content, maybe it's invoicing and you're chasing up with all of your clients. But just go away and actually sit down and say, okay, if I've got those 3 things, what hits all of them out of what I've done this week? And once you understand that, you'll be able to assign how much time you've been spending to it. Maybe like with me in proposals, it was 5 to 10 hours a week. And then once you've done that, you should, if you know how much either you're earning personally in your salary or how much your business is making, you should be able to go, okay, there's a huge business case for me sitting down and actually either hiring or learning to do it myself, putting AI automations into the business. So I think that's it. Like there are going to be more tools and platforms coming out like Mindprint, but make this easier than ever with a minimal learning curve. If you're looking to do something more customized because you have a unique workflow or something that absolutely needs to be customized to your business, the first thing is to identify what you should be automating and how much time you're currently wasting or resources you're wasting doing it unautomated. And then I think most people would be naturally interested enough to either reach out to somebody like me or learn to do it themselves or hire someone that could do it if they're a good business person, because their ROI should be clear.
Yeah, and really important to do not hesitate, even if you want to make a shift for your business or you want to build a business, to surround yourself with people who are building and currently implementing those AI solutions. Don't think because you have ChatGPT in the ends that you can build and you can revolutionize everything, because you have some people like James that are spending 7 days a week to work on that and to understand and to improve. And sometimes when you want to save money on not hiring someone or not having someone with you that is dedicated to that, you think that you are saving, but you are losing money, because as you said, when you spend 10 hours, 12 hours to try to do things without being sure that will work, instead of working with a professional that is taking you something off your plate, and on the top of that you are using someone that knows what he's talking about. And this is very important, to surround yourself with experts in its field to be sure that you build a strong basis for your business. Very important. So James, thank you very much. We will finish with some quick Q&A, just to leave the audience with some more personal and mindset insights.
Awesome.
If you have a book that changed your perspective, what is it?
I've read a lot of business books. Maybe Alex Hormozy's $100 million offers, because he talks about the value equation, which is he spent a lot of time thinking about what actually is value and how does a customer or a prospect perceive value. And it's essentially, what is the perceived likelihood of success on the top of the equation? What is the dream outcome times by the perceived likelihood of success? And then on the bottom of the equation, it's what is the effort and sacrifice times by the time delay. So you want to make the time delay and the effort and sacrifice as small as possible. And you want to make the dream outcome and the perceived likelihood of getting that dream outcome as big as possible, often with testimonials and things like that. But that really changed my perspective on how people in general perceive value and how you can de-risk offers by either showing loads of testimonials, reducing the time it takes, making it literally zero effort for them if you plan out the customer journey and enhance your offer. So that really changed my perspective on how I pitch people and how I craft offers.
Yeah. And as entrepreneur, you understand also that you can turn many things around, but you understand that the time is your most precious asset. And by using that kind of automation tool, you understand that you can save a bit this time to spend more time with your family, or spending more time
Definitely.
to be with your customers. Because at the end is that people say that, oh no, AI is totally disconnecting human people. No, it's not disconnecting. It's just automating the tasks that can be automated to let you more time with people.
Yeah.
You know, this is why the salesman will be the people in companies with the best future, because you can take them off from all the bureaucracy stuff and just being there with their customers all the time. So they will
Exactly.
build better relationship, better sales. And so the AI is here for the best. Just need to change the perspective. What the biggest mistake you have learned from?
Probably one of the biggest mistakes I've learned from is the small, lean team is much better than a big team. And I've realized this at two different points now, that if you just keep your team small, high impact, high trust, and really hire for necessity, rather than just because you want a task taken off your plate, then that's the right way to hire. And the other one is just probably when we went into Saudi Arabia for YP Club, because we spread ourselves too thin. We didn't properly think. I do think that obviously entrepreneurs need to be quick at decisions, but I think there's sometimes a limit where it's like, okay, is this decision actually going to set us back? Actually going to take a load of time? And trying to launch a whole new market, which meant Cameron had to spend a day there every single week or month or multiple days a month, whilst we were still trying to develop other two cities, just probably not a good decision in hindsight. So I think if you're making a key decision like expansion, depending on what your business is it like physical or product led? Obviously, product led is probably a bit easier, but just making sure you really think through those decisions when it's about market expansion, and it's going to take a lot of resources and time.
Okay, great. Someone who inspires you in business or tech?
I'd probably have to say, let's go with Alex Hormozy again, because I just think the way he communicates everything is so simple, and it's got a lot to. It's very, very good.
Okay, perfect. And one AI tool you can't live without. One tool that you use on daily basis.
Mindprint. Outside.
Good answer. It was outside of Mindprint.
Yeah. Okay, one AI tool that I use. I've been using my Meta AI glasses to film content recently.
Okay.
So I recently got the Meta Ray-Ban glasses, and they have created for me the easiest way, going back to what we were saying about building in public, to create content every single day. Because all I need to do is at various points of the day, record what I'm doing. And then at the end of the day, it just takes me 15 minutes to stitch them together and do a voiceover. And the series is called Come With Us as we take our AI workforce product to 1 million users. So yeah, I've been using them daily for the last 2 weeks.
Great. I didn't know we could extract data like that from the Meta glasses.
Yeah, you can do the videos and the photos.
Okay, great. So thank you very much for being here, James.
Absolute pleasure. I've really enjoyed it.
I hope we have covered the full dimension of what you are doing at Particle Execution and Mindprint. We are really happy to see people moving, building, and yes, trying to deliver solutions to make businesses improve their daily efficiency. So this podcast will be available on YouTube,
Fantastic.
on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and much more, hopefully. And we will obviously also, if people want to contact you, how they can contact you at Mindprint or Particle Execution?
So Mindprint's website is still not live. Particle Execution, you can book a call with me anytime. The website is particleex.com. So that's particle and then ex, so 2 E's, .com, or just message me on LinkedIn, James Augustin. So yeah, either of those two, you can get through to me.
Okay, yeah, in the description of the podcast, we will put all the relevant links, your link to your LinkedIn page, your website, and so on.
Awesome.
So people will be able to click to reach and maybe book a consultancy for their business. James, thank you very much. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much, Hedi.
And good luck.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to The Knowledge Capital. Follow us, drop a comment, and share the game. Follow Limitless Capital on LinkedIn and Instagram. Stay sharp, stay limitless.